Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Brittany Hernandez. I am your host for this Lightning Talk series in partnership with Documate. I'm a lawyer and the founder of Cor Meum Law and Cor Meum LLC, both of which focus on how innovations in tech can be used to solve human problems, both within the law and beyond. I'm also a pro Documator advisor and tutor and the founder of Cor Meum Academy, where we have Documator certification courses and courses centered on no-code, low-code development. I also have the privilege of representing Documate and empowering law students around the world as their global ambassador to law schools. And I'm recently the program director and senior instructor of Documate's brand new Law Students in Legal Tech Access to Justice Fellowship Program. Today, we're going to be talking with gigLAW's founder and CEO, Hayley Leviashvili, who will be discussing the topic, the importance of building automation processes for startups and legal businesses. Feel free to post your questions in the chat as you think of them, and Hayley will pick them up once she concludes. After questions, I'll do just a quick wrap up, after which you're free to stay on the call for our optional 5 minutes of speed networking. We're going to meet a couple of people that are new from the team and some people from the community. And we'll do a quick introduction for each of those. So I'd now like to introduce today's speaker. So Hayley is the CEO and founder of gigLAW, which is a legal platform that provides law firms with virtual legal work from attorneys, law students, and paralegals. She launched gigLAW while she was in law school, actually, because she wanted to bridge the blatant legal gap that exists for law students to gain paid hands-on experience while in law school. And she's actually grown the platform to bring on attorneys and paralegals as contractors as well, including myself, where I worked with Hayley and did a lot of work with her for a couple of months last year before I started working with Documate. Hayley loves working with Documate clients on automating processes, documents, and forms to make legal documents more accessible to clients and non-lawyers. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Hayley. The floor is now yours.
Thank you so much for having me. I'll share my screen right now and get started on the presentation. Let me just enter full screen. Oops, is everyone able to see my screen? Let's see. Here we go. Just had this issue right before. Let me see, use slideshow. There we go. All right, thank you so much for that introduction, Brittany. I'm so honored to be here, not only because I am so passionate about this topic, but Documate was such a key part of my journey to automation and making my processes in my company and also working with our clients more efficient. And just, I think it is such a crucial platform. And I also did have the honor of working with Brittany, as she mentioned, and that was one of the highlights of my 2022. Every time we reconnect, I always tell her how much we miss her. So in this presentation today, we're going to talk about not only what the best automation tools are, but the importance of processes themselves and how to specifically figure out which processes should be automated in your startup and legal business. This presentation is not only for business owners and law firm owners or principal attorneys, it's actually for any person in any business, because I'm the biggest believer that within every single role, there are processes that you will follow on a day-to-day basis that can specifically be automated, and that there should be an investment upfront to figure out what can be automated. So Brittany essentially broke down my entire background that I was going to speak about, but just to reiterate, when I was in law school, I wanted to figure out what type of law I wanted to practice. And so I was networking like crazy, sending thousands of emails, and I mean literally thousands of emails to attorneys just to network with them, figure out what I wanted to do. And that's where the idea came from, because as I was speaking to a lot of solos and smaller firms, they were saying to me, hey, look, I could really use someone on a project basis. Would you want to help me without coming on at full-time or even part-time? And I said, this is brilliant. I need to earn money while in law school. And that's where the idea really came from. We launched in May 2020, and everything that I was doing manually. So when I was sending out those thousands of emails to the lawyers, I was physically typing every single email, which, as you all can imagine, was extremely inefficient, but that's all I knew back then. And so in addition to working with gigLAW, part of gigLAW is partnering with Documate, helping their clients with both their internal and external processes. I'll dive more into that, as I'm sure a lot of you, since you're here, you already know how Documate works, but I think this presentation can maybe shine some light on some new ideas for how you can actually use Documate and how you can use different automations. In addition to Documate, another bucket that we do for our clients is we actually offer a service where we analyze their current processes or their current structure, help them implement processes and automate those processes using tools that already exist. So just before we get started, I'd love to get an idea of what everyone's experience is with automation processes. So the first question I have is, do you use automation processes? And if so, which tools do you use? So I'll give you around 20 to 30 seconds to answer this question, and then we'll go from there. So I'm not sure if the poll results come in now or at the end, but we can analyze it and we can talk about it during the Q&A part as we move along with the presentation. So just an overview of what we're going to be talking about today. First, I want to dive into why processes in general are so crucial. And then we'll talk about the types of automations to use in your business, and then automations that already exist in your practice, in your business, and tools that you already use. That already exist in the platforms that you use and how you can actually utilize them more. So first things first, why processes are so important. As I mentioned in the beginning of my career, I was manually doing all of the emailing. And then as I brought on law students to actually take on projects, everything I was doing was completely manual. I barely had any processes in place. I was sending out bi-weekly emails with the assignments that were coming in. And then I was getting responses to those emails from the contractors we had on board. And as you can imagine, that can be extremely disorganized, considering if I send an email with 10 projects and 3 people respond, I want project number 4, then we have to respond saying, sorry, that's already taken. Let me know which other ones you want to take. Or even then, once they accept the project, then sending the follow-up email with all the project descriptions. So that process clearly was multifaceted, multi-steps, and extremely inefficient. So in order to automate that process, make things more efficient, I had to literally map out every step of what we were doing internally and figure out the best way to implement that into a platform, what tools I can use to actually build that out. And on the other side of things, it's not even just for specifically a marketplace like mine, it's for any business. Figure out what the process looks like on your website, what pages each potential client is visiting, and what steps need to go in to automate things in order to get that client to turning into a paying customer. So I think that with processes themselves, you have to first figure out what processes you currently have, write it out in a step-by-step manner that really helps you visualize it. And it also is crucial in delegating out to your team members if you have it written out so they can see what needs to be done. And then you test those processes, see where it works best, and then pivot where necessary. And I think pivoting where necessary is one of the toughest pills I've had to swallow in the last 3 years, specifically because when I started the company, I really had a vision of it just being a dual marketplace, a platform, really minimal involvement. But as we've grown, as we've brought on paralegals, as we've brought on attorneys, we've realized that a lot of the firms that we work with want that direct contact, want that one-on-one pairing. So we've had to come up with other processes for how to actually implement a pairing process as a service opportunity for our clients. So staying flexible, testing, making sure you're constantly analyzing what's working and not working in your processes is key to being able to continue to grow. And now diving into the bulk of what this presentation is discussing about why automation in particular is so important is because time. It saves us time. As human beings, no matter what your role is in whatever job you have, I believe our most valuable resource is time. And so automating is that key to saving time. I actually read a Wall Street Journal article this morning that I think was perfect timing that was saying 10% of the highest earning males, they did mention females in the article, but they said that 10%, they've worked 77 hours less per year since I think the year was like 2021 or something. And they were saying, a lot of people were doing that because they want to focus more on family time. But one thing that the article did not mention was One thing the article did not mention was how they were saving that time, whether they were just choosing to work less or were they implementing the automation features for tasks that they do on a daily basis that save them time. If you just automate a few things, you can literally save yourself minutes per day, which add up to hours per week and weeks per year. So you can spend that on focusing on bigger picture tasks, or you can even spend that on taking more vacation time. Whatever you want to do with your saved time, that's what automation can help you do. And most of you here, again, because 86% of you answered that you use automation tools, you all know the amount of time that automation can save you. And just going further, automation saves you from making mistakes. Bringing it back to those emails that I was sending when I was first starting out, there could be typos in those emails, which, it doesn't look professional. Or even, let's say, I'll send an email saying, hey, I'd love to learn more about your general business law practice. And they were an estate planning firm. When you automate emails, you have all the right places where variables can be. You avoid making those mistakes. And even for firms like estate planning firms or general business firms that are automating forms through Documate, if there's a typo in a name, that's throughout all of the documents, then all you have to do is go back into the questionnaire and fix that, and it regenerates the documents, saves you hours of time. And finally, enhancing the way we collect any type of data leads to better data. And better data is essentially data consolidated in one place that you can actually analyze. So let's see if anyone mentioned automated data collection. So 32% of you mentioned that you use intake forms, surveys, and Google reviews. When you have intake forms that are collecting the data, and it automatically goes into our CRM where you see it all in one place, you can see, one, the type of customers or clients that you're generating, or the type of the general feedback that you're getting all in one place. And then that can better advise you on what your marketing efforts should be, or what your outreach efforts should be, or even if you're getting data from social media posts, what's working, what's not working. So better data is key in order to analyze your company's bread and butter, what's working, what needs to change, what needs to pivot. And so automation itself, again, because 86% of you use it already, you know how crucial it is. So now diving into the types of automations to use. So the most type of automation from this poll, 73% of you use document automation, which is incredible. And that, again, saves so much time. But there are so many other parts of the business where you could be automating. There are platform 32%. So I would say of everyone in this presentation, document automation, that's the last part of what I'm going to talk about. You all know. So the first parts of what I'm going to talk about, email automations, intake forms, billing, and marketing and socials, it's something you can really hone in on, really think about where you can use this. So going back to the Wall Street Journal article, connecting now to the stat that I found when I was putting together this presentation, but a McKinsey study showed that 23% of a lawyer's time can be automated. So that's not just with document automation, that's with everything else that I'm talking about right now. So that's almost a quarter of your time that can be automated. And again, you can use that to focus on client experience, customer success, bigger picture ideas, growing. Or again, even if you want to take a vacation, spend more time with family, that's where this time can be saved and can go to. So for email automations, I think this was the number one thing that I had to focus on, because so much of my business was running through email automation. And there's so many different ways where you can create email automations to make things more efficient. So first, I wrote a step-by-step of essentially how we figured out what types of automations we needed to do for emails. So we mapped out every step of the customer experience. This was from the website, from inquiries, from LinkedIn posts, every point of contact that we were having with a potential customer and a potential contractor. We were mapping out where those emails come in and where there could be trigger points for an email sequence to be automated. So for example, when a client goes to our website, if they submit an email or they submit an inquiry or they input their email, we'll add them to an email sequence that directly pushes them to schedule a call with me. And so that comes into step 3. Originally, we were sending these long emails with a lot of verbiage, and we weren't getting any responses. We weren't getting anyone actually taking action to learn more. Now, and I realize a lot of law firms and businesses alike, in order to sign on with us, they want to hear that, have a verbal communication. They want to learn about it through a phone call. So all of our emails will always include a calendar link. And let's see how many people. Scheduling automation, 36% of you use scheduling automation. For getting new clients, you need to have a calendar link, some sort of platform that allows it, because you probably spend around 4 or 5 emails just to set up one call. When you can just send a calendar link, they see when you're available, they can map it from when they're available. It makes things so much easier and saves so much time. So, and then another major place where you can have email automation, and this is for every single type of business, is getting referrals, feedback, and reviews. We're currently building this out right now because the main way that we get clients is through referrals. So having an email sequence for current clients after they submit a certain amount of projects, or after they've been on with us for a certain amount of months, saying, hey, refer 3 people, you can get this prize, or here, please give me this feedback. And you can even automate the feedback by having them put it into a Google form, which again consolidates it all in one place, and you can see what's working, what's not working, all in one place. And then also getting reviews, pushing them to write Google reviews, pushing them to write reviews on LinkedIn, or anywhere where you have reviews possible. It's critical. And so having email automations to send a follow-up, as 2, 3, 4 emails to get your client to do this, can lead to 3, 4 more customers per individual person writing the review. And finally, there are a lot of project management tools that already have email integrations. So for example, we use Asana specifically for estate planning client buckets. So once we get a client set up on their Asana board, everyone has their emails inputted. As soon as a card is created for a specific task, we get an email notification automatically saying, hey, here's a new project. As soon as we move that card into the in progress column, then the client gets an email saying that this is the in progress. They know we're working on it. If we have any questions, we can add that into the card into Asana, and then they get email notified, hey, we have these questions for the plan. And then once we move it into the complete column, they get a notification that it's completed. So these are probably saved us 10 to 20 different emails just by having a platform that automatically has that work. And Asana is not the only one that does that. You have Monday.com, Trello, where it can all be triggered. You can even connect a platform like Trello to Clio if you use Clio, and have all of those integrations set up. So email automation, that's probably the number one thing that I think can save you time. I read in a study that every email, not every email, but on average emails send take around 8 to 12 minutes to compose. So if you are sending hundreds of emails per week, if a quarter of those can be automated, you're saving yourself a quarter of your time right there. Intake forms, a lot of you probably are using this through the document automation, especially if you're using Documate. There's such incredible ways where you can save time using these intake forms. So you have all of your clients or all your inquiries, fill out an intake form, you see the type of customer that they potentially are, and this can come directly from your website, or you can lead them to a link. And again, you'll have all of that data consolidated. You can use Zapier to zap that into your CRM, so you see all the different types of clients that you're getting, or you can push them into into your calendar, setting up a call there. And then for intake forms in general, if you want to use them as an internal use, a lot of the estate planning clients that we work with, family law clients that we work with, and business law clients that we work with who use Documate are actually having us create one intake form where we input all the information or we create the questionnaire for all the information for the end client to fill out. Then once that client fills it out, you can use that data to push it into any other questionnaire you want, so that it maps out and is automatically inputted. And so Documate obviously is the brilliant tech behind that. But think about how many hours firms have been saved just by having that one intake form where all that data can be pushed out into other questionnaires, and all your documents can be created. So since most of you do document automation, that's something that, if you don't currently have that set up, you should definitely look into it. But again, it's all about time saving, working efficiently. And once you have that information in the intake form, you have all the spelling correct, you won't make any mistakes. So, and further, as I mentioned, the third prong of being able to see all your data inputted properly with an intake form. Let's say 1 month you see, oh, we're getting a lot of inquiries from estate planning firms or general business firms. You have all of that data consolidated, so then you can in turn cater your email marketing campaigns, which are again automated, to focusing on that specific sector where you're seeing a lot of success and getting a lot of revenue from. Using Zapier is another incredible way to increase automation. Let's see if you said 32% of you have been using platform automation. So if you don't know Zapier or other integrations or using APIs, webhooks, everything that the poll asked, then you should definitely look into that as well, because these are just easy ways to make an action have a reaction. And so for every process, when you have it mapped out, for every action that you see could have a reaction to make something else happen, look into how to make that happen, because again, saves times. Rather, if you don't have a Zapier connection from Documate intake form to connect to your CRM, get that set up so that you don't have to manually input all the information you get from that intake form into your CRM, where you keep track of all of your potential leads, current clients, the clients who have finished their work. So having those Zaps, being able to automatically implement everything, it is so crucial for our business. We can connect Zapier within Glide, which is the no-code platform that we created the platform on. And so anytime an assignment's posted, whoever's tagged, the level of legal professional that's tagged, will get immediately notified that there's an assignment available. Once that assignment's accepted, then the law firm will get notified that of the profile who accepted the assignment. These were all things that I and our team were doing manually. So it's unbelievable the amount of hours that we've saved and the amount of more clients that we're able to help, more contractors we're able to have on board. So moving on to marketing and socials, let's see what the percentage for that. Marketing and social, 23% of the people in this webinar or this discussion said that they use marketing automation. This is something that is so crucial, especially for companies and businesses that use social media as a way to get new clients, get product reviews, get the word out there, and create a brand for themselves. So if you basically, with these types of platforms like later.com, you can plan out every single post that you want for the next week, for the next month, for the next couple of months. So just taking the time to initially invest in mapping out all of those social media post ideas on each type of platform, and then having an approval process if there's someone above you, or if you yourself need to approve it before it goes live, allows you to just take a weight off your shoulders with not having to think, oh, what am I going to post this week? What am I going to post tomorrow? And then you can actually focus, once the post is posted, you can focus on actually engaging with those who are engaging with your post, because as we all know, engagement is the key to getting the post more views and being able to actually have a return on that investment to be able to, sign on new clients, make more revenue. So there are a lot of platforms out there. We currently use later.com, but there are a lot of things that you can do to look into this. And for someone like me, I personally hate social media. I don't have any personal social media. But again, I know the reality of the situation, that it's necessary, especially for products. Using TikTok and Instagram and Facebook is critical. For us, we mainly focus on LinkedIn because that's most of where our potential clients will be. But creating a plan and automatically having them upload is, again, an easy way to save time. And then also a lot of these platforms will provide you the analytics on all of your posts. So you see what's working, what's not working, what people are reacting to, what people are engaging with. And then let me just see how much time I've just a few minutes left. One of the best pieces of advice that I was given, I'm going to move the poll if you're able to see that on my screen, was you do not have to reinvent the wheel. When I was first building out, or first had the idea of gigLAW, I hired on a couple of developers, was paying a lot of money to get it built out from scratch. And again, the best piece of advice, I was speaking to one of my mentors and he said, why are you trying to reinvent the wheel? There are no code platforms out there that can do exactly what you need it to do. So as I mentioned, we work with Glide, but even there are more simple platforms like Asana and Monday.com that can achieve the goals that you need to achieve, or Clio. Obviously, many law firms use Clio, and that is an all-in-one place to be able to track everything and be able to do a lot of the automations that we discussed in this presentation. And obviously, Documate itself, you don't have to, using this platform, it's just the easiest way to get all your forms, intake forms, whether you're using it internally or externally, get it up and running. And so the key is really figuring out, one, what you actually can automate, map out your processes, figure out what can be automated. Two, what's most important. This is not, this is going to get done in a week. You will spend time investing in all of the language, like for email campaigns, you have to map out what you want each email to be, at what point it's going to be sent, and then also do A/B testing, do different types of messaging, what's working better. And then once you map it all out and you figure out what's most important to actually automate, then figure out how to effectively automate, figure out what tools you need, what you need to invest in. Do you need something as simple as Asana, or do you need something like Documate where you can integrate into your website, or do you need to build out your own app and use Glide? So there's really a lot of tools that you can already use and capitalize on using what already exists. You don't, again, no, maybe 10 years ago when not a lot of these platforms existed, you had to spend the time and the money to build from scratch, but I don't think you have to do that anymore for most service-based businesses and products as well. The next slide. So here's an example. Like I'm a very visual person. So when you're thinking about what you need to map out, I would actually create a chart. I was going to dive in, but to this chart, but it's okay. I'll keep going in the presentation because we're limited on time. So Documate, as you guys can all tell, I love this with a passion. I think it is one of the greatest platforms that I have the opportunity to work with. And a lot of our firms, because most of you have experience with document automation, you know that you can use it internally or externally. So I was just going to quickly dive into this. A lot of firms like family law firms or estate planning firms or business firms, they actually use it internally for their intake forms, for actually filling out the documents. Where we were just working with a criminal law firm where they're still obviously representing their client, but this just streamlines all the documents that they need to automate. And one thing that I think is really awesome working with a lot of Documate clients who are trying to productize the forms that they already have internally to sell on to the end client themselves. It's just making access to legal services so much better. I know there are a lot of forms on Google out there that a lot of people are using. My uncle reached out and was like, "Hey, how does this will look?" And I was just like, "Oh my gosh, please consult with an attorney. This is horrible." So these are forms that are being built out by lawyers themselves, and they're fantastic. They're better than like Law Depot or LegalZoom, and it's just an incredible way to save time and also allow the end client, just non-lawyers, to be able to use forms and be protected in many different ways. So finally, just to wrap up, what to do next after this presentation if you are interested in automation. Again, write out your processes, every step of your process, and then figure out what can be automated, what you need to be automated, what's most important to automate, whether it's internal processes or external processes, whether it's marketing or emails or social media. Figure out what's your most important thing to automate. Then determine the tools that you need to use to automate. There are a lot of tools that out there that exist to help you automate, and just figure out what the best investment is for your firm and what will save, or your business, and what will save you the most time. And then finally, another extremely important learning lesson that I learned over the years is put the ego away. You might think that you can figure out how to automate it all yourself, or you can figure out Documate because it's such an easy to use platform, but your time is better spent elsewhere. There are people whose careers are solely focused on building out platforms or building out automations or helping you figure out the best ways to automate, and they can provide you with a clean analysis of what you can do with the information that you give them. And so trust them, outsource as much as you can. And, it'll just improve your efficiencies of your company and increase revenue and increase your profit margins as well, and probably make you a lot happier if you have all this time saved that can either be focused on other things or taking time. And then finally, if anyone has any questions, I think I'm just about at I went a little bit over. Sorry, Brittany, but yeah, if anyone has questions, let me know.
Thank you so much, Hayley. And I told her in the prep meeting, the rehearsal, that I was going to cut her off, but I didn't because I was engaged in taking notes as well.
Oh my God, I'm honored.
I'm going to move us along though, just because we're running low on time, but I think it was well worth the extra time to listen in. So if you do have questions for Hayley, please do email her. I'm going to be giving her email out at the end, if that's okay with Hayley, hopefully, because it's on the slides.
Of course.
So I'm going to move us on to, oops, sorry, I need to share my screen first. Give me 1 second. And yes, I'm just going to go over a few announcements, and just thank you so much, Hayley. That was so much value packed into 25 or so minutes. So we really appreciate your time and your expertise on this. And as you mentioned, Hayley and I work together. And so if you want someone who is an automator, like she mentioned towards the end, if you want to outsource, she has that that base of people who you can connect with, which used to be me, but now
Yeah.
I'm more of an educator. So I'm trying to
Brittany was
create
our
little
rock
minions.
star.
Thank you so much.
Exactly.
So, so I am going to just go over a few announcements. So from Hayley, she is bringing on new attorneys, paralegals, and law students as contractors and pro documenters. So if you wanted to do what I used to do and what she was mentioning, people can do with gigLAW is it was super fun and she's great to work with. So I highly recommend that if you're looking to take on extra work, and you can kind of scale the hours that work best for you. So I really liked that about, and made it to where I was able to build out some of my own businesses as well, which was important to me. She's also taken on new clients. So that includes Documate clients. If you need help with automation and you don't want to reinvent that wheel, her email is hayley@giglaw.co. Please know that is co, not com. And then from me, we recently launched the Law Students in Legal Tech Access to Justice Fellowship, which is for current law students, recent grads, and participants of incubator programs. So we are accepting rolling admissions. We just started week 2 of the program. So there's a hackathon competition with cash prizes, guaranteed paid positions with gigLAW if you're the winners, and so much more, which is super exciting. Also every Wednesday I do a live. I also have a called the Wednesday Build, and you can look at some of my other stuff, which include Documate certification courses. So if you're interested in becoming an automator with gigLAW, it might be good to go through the certification course first, just so that you go in with a really good foundational knowledge and understanding, as well as being able to differentiate yourself from other contractors. From Documate, they are rebranding as Gavel, which was recently announced and super exciting. I'm loving all the different logos and colors. So that is all coming out very, very soon. And so just stay tuned. Some recent feature releases. You can now have multiple admins on your account, which is cool because then they can access the data manager and some other cool stuff. Also enhanced template management. So check out the template management center because there's lots of different cool buttons now. So check that out. Additional languages, which helps with when numbers are written out. And then also some updates to the APIs that allow you to fetch documents. A few quick reminders that the marketplace is there. So if you have built out different automations that are useful to other lawyers or are for end users like clients, then you can sell them or have them for free and available on the marketplace. So reach out to help@documate.org if you'd like to add your applications and workflows to the marketplace. Product support hours every Friday with Trisha Duffin. If you have a suggestion for a feature update, add it to the wish list, and please do share your projects in the show and tell channel. I feel lonely in there by myself saying like, hey, look at this cool thing, and hey, look at that cool thing. So it feels awkward to blast out to 300 people, and I'm not trying to show off. I'm just trying to encourage people to share what they're working on because we can learn from each other and see what we're building. That's so fun. Next time, we're going to hear from Megan Sawtell, who actually built the certification course with me. So she's fabulous and so smart. I don't know if she's here right now. I think not at the moment, but she is the founder and CEO of AK Lean Virtual Assistants. And actually, some of her employees are on the call who are excellent, excellent documenters as well. She's going to be talking about the butterfly effect, how visualizing workflows helps prevent breaks in design. So she kind of goes through her process of how you can just map things out before you get started, so you understand the effect of changes along the way, which will be very important and something that Hayley, I'm sure, does as well. So thank you so much for being here, Hayley, and for everyone on the call. This is Hayley's email once again. You can also email me if you have any questions. This is the date for the next lightning talk, which is every last Thursday of the month. If you would like to stay on for 5 minutes of speed networking, you can. We'll allow anyone who needs to go right now to go ahead and go. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll stop the recording here and stay on if you'd like to join us for networking.